You know what it is. Garbage time. So I wanted to save the best for last. And Washington football team's president, Jason Wright, was in an article recently where he divulged the following information. Washington will have a new name and logo in 2022. That is not a surprise. If you've been on the website, they talked about the journey and they talked about, you know, the brand and it changing, and that all of this would be fulfilled in 2022. So the expectation, if you're a fan, is that 2022 was the year you were circling and pinpointing as, hey, this is the year that they need to get everything situated. So it feels like, as a fan, we've been at the loading bar screen and it's been at 50% and it's been stuck. And we're just waiting for the loading bar to get to like 85, 90% so we can feel like it's almost over. We're just at 50%. The loading bar is at 50% and we're just sitting there and we're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And when you wait this long, you start making shit up because you don't have any answers. So you're trying to make up answers in your head. So you get all these names, and what if they keep the name the same? And what if they change the name to this? Here's a logo combination they could put together. Here's something we could do. We could call ourselves the Red Wolves, and we could have the Red Den, and we could the Wolves Den, and this, that, and people start making up all kinds of shit. Because you don't have anything but time, because the loading bar is sitting there at 50% and it hasn't moved in a year and a half. Well, that's set to change in 2022. We're going to get that much closer to this entire rebranding process being over and done with. Some finality will finally be coming towards Washington fans, and they deserve it in 2022. Now, something else I thought was more interesting than him telling us that, because I already knew 2022 was the year that they were going to do this. They've kind of said it without saying it. He actually came out and said it and confirmed it. So that wasn't the biggest news from the article. The biggest news from the article is that they're not going to have anything with Native American imagery or association attached to it. And while you say to yourself, duh, that's why they got rid of the name in the first place, you got to be able to take it a step further and read in between the lines. The name that most Washington fans thought was going to be the new name, more likely than not, was Warriors. Well, that has Native American connotation to it. And he said it in a way that, I'm not saying that this, when you say this word or this phrase, the first thing that pops into your mind is Native American. He's saying, look, I don't care if it's the 5th thing that pops into your head or the 17th thing. If it pops into your head, Native American, we don't want it to be even remotely close to this organization. So the word red, I think, is out. Period. I think Warriors, done. Not happening. You know, another one that people kept throwing out, Brave Hawks, you know, Rebels, all those shits are done. Renegades, over. Not happening. Okay? So there are a number of names that have been circulating and floating around, including Red Wolves. I think all of them shits are dead. Dead, I tell you. Okay? Rebels, Renegades, you know, Braves, Bravehearts, anything with Braves, anything that would lead you to believe that it has anything to do with an Indian. Hell, war, anything with war. War hogs, I've heard that a lot. War, war, war eagles, all kinds of war shit. War hawks, dead. All of that shit is dead. They're going in a totally different direction. They don't want this to be controversial in any way, shape, or form. They changed this name. They're not changing it again. They don't want to change it again. So this is going to be a safe name, whatever they decide to do. I still think there's an outside chance that this thing stays Washington Football Team, or they change it to Washington Football Club or some bullshit like that. There's an outside chance of that happening. But we're supposed to get a new logo, a new name, all of that in 2022. I find it very interesting that, and I've said this already, that they continue to build around the Washington Football Team moniker and the name and everything they're doing in the stadium and things of that nature, it all screams, hey, this shit is staying the same. It would be tough for me to stomach that as a fan, though, when this whole entire time you've been doing, and I told you all of this stuff they've been doing with, fans and sending out these, all of these different surveys to season ticket holders and things. All of this is a ploy by Jason Wright, and a damn good one, I might add. But all of this is a ploy by Jason Wright to make fans feel involved in the process, to engage them, to make them feel like they've got a say-so in the ultimate decision of this organization's renaming. I've said this all along. They know what the name is. They've known what the name was going to be for quite some time. All of this stuff that they've been doing is just to conjure up excitement and also make people feel like they're involved. They lost so many fans over the last 3 years with this organization that they're trying to make people feel like they're a part of something now. That you had a hand in us choosing this new name. Feel like it's a part of you. I honestly believe that they've known the name for quite some time, and it'd be hard for me to stomach that the name is going to remain the same, and you're talking about this 2022 rollout as if you're changing it. If the name is going to be Washington Football Team, then just tell us that. Like, don't beat around the bush. Don't have us on this cliffhanger only to tell us, hey, y'all thought we was changing the name. Psych! Nah, we gonna keep it Washington Football Team. We kind of like this shit. Nah, don't do that. And that would make it even. If you told me last year when you changed the name and you said, hey, we kind of leaning towards it staying this way, and then you came out this year and you said, hey, we keeping it Football Team, I might not like it, but all right, it is what it is. At least I already know. If you wait a whole nother year to tell me this is what it is, and maybe behind the scenes you had to dot a couple more I's, cross a couple more T's from a legality standpoint to make sure everything was all aligned before you could launch the name as the official new name of the team. I understand that too, but still, as a fan, I'd be pissed off because you led me to believe when this name was changed in July of 2020 that we were going to have a new name and a new logo and something that we could call our own, a brand new nickname. You led me to believe that was going to be the case. And if that's not the case, I'm going to be pretty pissed off about it. Not only because I don't like being called the Washington Football Team, but because I thought that change was coming. I didn't want change to begin with, but if we're going to change it, let's change it to something that we can at least get behind. So we'll see what happens, but I see some of you still throwing names out there. Like Antoine Newman says, Washington Warpaths. Nothing with war. Nothing that can give you Native American imagery is going to be the name of this team. Anything with war. I'm not saying Native Americans and war, if we're playing a game of word association, are the first two that come together. But if you think war, then you're going to think about Native Americans somewhere down the line. And I don't think they want that. I don't think they want that at all. So I want you guys to think more about the city of Washington itself, because I think it may be something more centered around the city than anything else. We'll see. It'll be interesting, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like the Washington Monuments or some bullshit like that. I don't think that's what it's going to be, but think something along those lines. Less something, fierce and destructive like a wolf, something less harmful and something a lot less, gruesome. They're probably going to go soft on us here. We'll see. It's going to be hard for them to win. Whatever the name is, it's going to probably be received poorly. Whatever it is. They can't win. So whatever they come out with, whether it stays what it is, there are going to be people like me that are going to be pissed off. They change it and it sounds dumb, and you're going to have people pissed off. Honestly, even if the name sounds dumb, okay, at least we got a name now. I've said this from the jump. I really don't care what they change the name to. I say that it's tongue-in-cheek because I don't want to be named the Washington Tampons. No, I don't want to be named that. So I can't say I don't care what they name the team, but they're not going to name the team that. So I can say I don't care because I know they're not going to name the team something stupid like that. It may not be a name that I would have chosen or I necessarily love. Like the example I gave you of Monuments. I don't love that name. I think it's a stupid name for a professional sports team. But that's something that is closely tied to the city in which they play in or they used to play in. And so I could see them doing something like that. So we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, I thought the biggest takeaway from what he said is that we're staying away from Native American imagery and association. There will be nothing remotely close to Native Americans in any form, fashion whatsoever. Which tells me more likely than not, red isn't going to be included in the name, which tells me all of the names that people have been bountying about that sounded fierce and still gave you the feel of Redskins, all of them shits dead, you know? All of those different, Battle Hawks and War This and, Red Wolves and all that shit to me is dead. Dead, I tell you. I could be wrong. But I think he's trying to soften us up for something totally different. Remember when Mike Mayock, I'm going to leave you with this. Remember when Mike Mayock, the day before the draft, said, hey, our first pick, they had 3 picks in the 2020 NFL draft. He said, hey, this first pick is going to fool a lot of people. And that got me to thinking they're going to take a quarterback. So I changed my mock draft around because I said, they ain't going to do something stupid like draft Cleveland Farrell at number 2, right? Or whatever it was, 2, 3, 4, wherever the hell they drafted him. Yeah, that's what they did. And he knew that shit was going to be controversial because he's not that good. And he knew that people were going to have things to say about it and there would be some backlash. So he tried to soften that blow. He tried to put out that advisory warning. That advisory warning that they put out before some crazy shit's about to go down. Just to let you know, hey, look, we put out the parental advisory warning. We told your ass this shit was going to be graphic. He put out that advisory warning before the draft like, hey, I'm about to do some crazy shit. And he did. Okay? I think this was Jason Wright's way of putting out that advisory warning. Hey, we about to do some shit that might be controversial. Not from a standpoint of, hey, this name is crazy, but some shit that you're not really going to be all that enthused about. But it is what it is. It is what we decided to do. We're going to see. Anyway, I digress. I do think it's going to be something military related, Condoleezza Perry. I think it's going to be something military related, something that ties it to the city. I think it will be something like that. The Sentinels or something like that. I could see that. I could definitely see it being something like that. We'll see. But in any event, LouieTeeNetwork.